Student athletes who have less access to athletic trainers are 50% more likely to have a concussion misdiagnosed. That's according to a 2018 study that looked at hundreds of schools in the state of Wisconsin.
In this News 8 Investigates, Jordan Fremstead shows us why student safety is not on a level playing field.
Martha and Mike, most local schools have an athletic trainer on campus for at least 2 days a week. However, some schools, especially those smaller districts, have less access compared to larger districts. Now, this means a trainer is not always available, and their expertise can be the difference when it comes to identifying sports injuries like a concussion.
And now, your 2019 senior class.
Friday nights consist of 48 minutes of passion, pride,
until they hit the field like whoa, all night like
and physical power. In sports, there is a risk for every student athlete. During each second, the clock ticks.
That's a quick start. That's a good start.
That's the reason Wisconsin athletic trainers Hall of Famer Joe Lemire has been guarding the sidelines for the past 26 years. Lemire is in charge of his own team at Gunderson Health System.
And do the same technique.
He leads a team of trainers tasked with the responsibility of caring for student athletes.
We do a lot of off-field training of our staff, looking at all the current concepts of injuries and seeing what is out there. We work with the school personnel, their strength coaches, their coaches, and how to prevent injuries as well.
Since 1987, Gunderson trainers have worked with schools in southwestern Wisconsin and southeastern Minnesota.
1, 2.
Before every fall sports season, when football begins, these trainers put together their own game plan to get to as many practices
and you're more accurate on the chest
and games as they can.
We cover about 2,100 events a year. We can do it if we have to.
Contracts with schools are based on what local districts can afford. Schools with a larger athletic budget buy more access to trainers. A 2018 study published by the National Athletic Trainers Association looked at approximately 2,400 student athletes ages 14 to 18 in 400 schools across Wisconsin. The study found that only 1/3 of those schools have an athletic trainer available for 35 to 40 hours per week. The next third has a trainer on staff for 10 to 15 hours per week. And 1/3 of those schools have an athletic trainer available for an hour and a half or no trainer at all. According to the study, student athletes who attended schools with less access to athletic trainers, mostly in rural and inner city areas, are 50% more likely to have a sports-related concussion go unidentified, unassessed, or mismanaged. Most schools in the La Crosse area have a trainer on campus for at least 2 days a week plus games. However, the playing field is still not level for every district.
Hey, look what you got going.
News 8 Investigates reviewed athletic trainer contract data from Gunderson Health System. That data from 27 schools in our area shows high schools with more than 400 students have a trainer on campus 5 days a week on average, plus games. Schools with fewer than 400 students had a trainer on campus for 3 days a week on average, plus games. 10 of those schools only see a trainer 2 days a week, plus games. To combat the fact that trainers can't be at every practice at some schools, trainers educate coaches and school staff to help identify a severe injury when a trainer is not available.
Pretty good. It's good to see you. Good to see you, too.
Dr. Jacob Erickson, lead sports medicine physician at Mayo Clinic Health System, says coaches can help, but he says they shouldn't be expected to do it all.
As the coach, obviously their priority is running a practice. They're coordinating a group of coaches, so they got a lot on their mind, a lot of things to monitor, and their focus at looking at the practice is going to be a little different than, say, from the eyes of a trainer.
If a concussion is missed and a student athlete continues to play, they could suffer another concussion and be at risk for long-term health problems.
Having multiple concussions over their life, we can see some long-term declines in cognitive function, memory, just the way they feel. People can develop chronic headaches.
Wisconsin state law requires all youth athletic organizations to educate coaches, student athletes, and parents on the risks of concussions. Parents have to sign off on the concussion info they are given before their child can play. The law also requires an athlete be removed from a game or practice if they have signs and symptoms of a concussion. That athlete can't return to action until they pass concussion protocol. Erickson says if high school sports are going to be a priority, safety needs to be a priority too.
You're good to go.
That someone made the reference, you wouldn't let your kid, you wouldn't drop them off at the pool if there wasn't a lifeguard there.
Now, when we're talking Wisconsin law, when it comes to concussions, they don't have any liability against a person if they do miss that concussion, because obviously people can make mistakes. As long as it's not negligent, they won't create a liability there. And also the rules have changed. The WIAA changed a rule a few years ago that eliminated contact in the first week of the preseason, and then they limit the contact during the regular season. And that actually helped cut down concussions by 57%.
Wow, so very interesting. So if access to trainers is based in a big part on the budget for these schools, what needs to be done to kind of level the playing field here?
So a UW-Madison professor actually led this study, and he says, you know, efforts at the state and national levels, at the legislative level, are going to be what's going to take to kind of level that playing field and make it equal across the board, because school budgets are tight as is. Many schools do what they can already, and they do a really good job, and I think our 2 medical centers we have here in La Crosse do an outstanding job. You heard 2,100 events. That's a lot of events to get to throughout the year, and they only have about 30 staff members, so that's pretty incredible what they're able to do there. And also awareness and education on concussions is a lot better. Coaches are teaching better techniques. So I think the game is as safe as it ever has been, and with my experience of being at Friday night games and different practices, I mean, they're really doing a good job that well. There's just some bigger schools that are doing it better than other smaller schools, or have more resources, I should say. And that's just kind of what needs to change at this moment.
All right, thanks, Jordan.
Yeah.